Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and the Book of Boba Fett is the Mandalorian spin-off series coming to Disney Plus this December. It's expanding the Star Wars universe after we saw Luke Skywalker reclaiming custody of Grogu. Don't worry, kid, you get 2 Christmases now. We finally have a trailer for this Boba Fett series, so I'm gonna react to it, give my initial impressions, and then I'm gonna go through and break down a bunch of details that you might have missed from it. Let's check this out. Here we go. Oh, those are the spider things, the Bib Fortuna brain monk droids.
The bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise.
I love how they got the dent. They better explore that dent. I love the way his armor's all chipped. Oh, and they did it on the titles too. Very cool.
I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
Is that Mando's voice? Is that Pedro Pascal?
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Okay. I love it. It's like political.
You were once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial.
An offer you can't refuse.
Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
Nice,
What
nice.
prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want.
Yes, yes.
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Chunk. Ah!
Speak freely.
Yeah, freely. Nice. This looks sick. This looks awesome. So just to give you a bit of background on this, Boba Fett's being played here by the great Tamora Morrison. Morrison played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, and obviously all of the clones in the prequels. And they did bring back Morrison to voice Boba Fett in a number of Star Wars games. He actually voiced Boba in the 2004 re-release of Empire Strikes Back. Now, Boba Fett, we thought, tumbled into the Sarlacc pit and was devoured by the Sarlacc in Return of the Jedi. But he showed up in the final shot of the Season 2 premiere of The Mandalorian, when he seemed to be dressed as a Tusken Raider who was spying on Mando, taking his green armor. Later in that season, he followed them to the planet Typhon when they were trying to channel a Jedi from those Jedi temple ruins, which we later found out was Luke Skywalker. He was joined by Fennec Shand, who we last saw in episode 5 of season 1, the bounty hunter that Mando was trying to track down. She ended up shot in the stomach, and at the end of that episode was found by some mystery figure who many of us thought was Boba Fett, and it turns out it was. Now, the big mystery with Boba Fett is how he escaped the Sarlacc. That's one question that I hoped that would have been addressed in The Mandalorian, and if they do not address it in this show, at least just to make a joke about it at least, we will continue asking it until we're in our graves. Now, if you dread looking at your credit card statements like they're really unflattering photos of you from middle school, you're not alone, both in stressing about credit card debt and in wishing you didn't go through a bowl cut phase. Upstart can help you make that final payment so that you can break that cycle and get ahead. Upstart is a fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment. Upstart knows that you are more than just your credit score and is expanding access to affordable credit. Rather than looking at a credit score alone, Upstart considers other factors like your income, current employment, and credit history to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate without impacting your credit score in minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. Receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/newrockstars. That's upstart.com/newrockstars. Use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Upstart.com/newrockstars. Season 2, episode 1 was following largely the events of Chuck Wendig's Aftermath book with the character of Cobb Vanth, Timothy Oliphant's character. And in the season 2 premiere, Cobb Vanth revealed that he had gotten this armor from Jawas who scavenged it in the desert. But that season 2 premiere also shows Mando helping Cobb work with Tusken Raiders to slay a crate dragon, which is huge and spews acid. They specifically say was larger than a Sarlacc Sarlacc. So I don't know, maybe the Krayt Dragon devoured a Sarlacc and then used that acid to devour the Sarlacc, which would have freed Boba Fett to escape and could have gotten burped up from there. I don't know, I hope there's a better story to that. I want to see it in this show. So anyway, when we last see them, it was in season 2, episode 6. That was the episode Robert Rodriguez directed. He's actually directing most of the episodes of this show. And Mando reclaimed his armor, revealing his Mandoa chain code, confirming his father Jango's history as a Mandalorian foundling. And then he helps Din Djarin and his crew locate Grogu. And during that time, he did not get along with the other Mandalorian, Bo-Katan. She called him a disgrace to the Mandalorians because he's a clone, but he begrudgingly works with all of them. From Slave 1, he fires on the Lambda shuttle, allowing them to board Moff Gideon's Imperial light cruiser, and then he jumps back into hyperspace. And then in that finale post-credit scene, Boba Fett shows up in Jabba's palace, kills Bib Fortuna, or should I say Big Fortuna, and then takes Jabba's throne with Fennec Shand sitting at his side, sipping some spotchka. And now this series is picking up with that. And it kind of looks like a Godfather Sopranos style mafia show, with Boba Fett trying to rebuild Jabba's criminal network and assert dominance over all of them, but also change the rules of the game a little bit. Because that was the whole thing with the Godfather, right? Don Corleone wanted to try to have peace among the different families. He didn't want it all to end up in war, because when there's cooperation, you can go further. Now the trailer opens with these great spider droids. These are the BT-16 droids used by the Bomar monks on Tatooine. You'll notice how it has a little brain bobbing in the juice there. That's because the Bomar monks will transfer their brains to these droids as they become enlightened. And it's amazing that they included here because in the expanded Star Wars literature, this is originally the fate of Bib Fortuna. After he takes over Jabba's operation, he ends up getting mixed up with these monks, and the last time we see him, these droids are closing in on him, about to suck his brain out. And now that story, like many stories in Star Wars literature, has been retconned by what is now canon to the cinematic universe. I love that they include the droids here as just a nod to that original fate of Bib Fortuna. We actually saw one of these droids in the background behind C-3PO as he entered the palace in Return of the Jedi, and as it did then, you'll notice the animation does look a little stop motion-y, kind of like fidgety, and you complained about that VFX. I kind of love it. It does remind me of a lot of the stop motion technique that was used in the original trilogy. It also makes this droid feel kind of like janky and gross, matching the gross kind of movement of a lot of insects. So there's a shot of a droid handing Boba his helmet, and I love the attention to detail they put on his armor. It's chipped, it's weathered, and as I pointed out, that whole production design is on all the titles throughout this trailer too. They're all rusted and worn. And most importantly, Boba Fett still has that dent on his helmet. Now, this is always a big mystery, how Boba Fett got that dent on his helmet. It seemed like the Clone Wars was going to answer that question back before they were actually able to produce season 7. When Dave Filoni revealed the unfinished episodes, there's a storyline where Boba Fett was going to be in a duel with Cad Bane. A blaster bolt was going to hit his helmet and leave that dent on it. I would love if this show could address that whole backstory, either through a flashback or Boba Fett running back into Cad Bane or something like that, because Cad Bane's fate was supposed to be left a mystery. Now, Boba Fett is talking to someone during this. It sounds like it is Din Djarin.
I've heard otherwise. I know that you sit on the throne.
At one point, he meets an Ithorian warlord that's a hammerhead alien race. This is supposed to be a peaceful species, like they're agricultural. This looks like one of the authority figures that Boba Fett is trying to win over. I love the look of this giant city that looks like it's structured in a huge pit that might be dug out. At the top of the screen, there is a ship with a similar design as the Razor Crest. Of course, the Razor Crest was destroyed on Tython, so it's not that. There's a shot of Jabba's palace with someone walking up to it alone. I would think that's Boba Fett, but he wouldn't have walked right up to that palace because it looks like he caught them with his pants down. Also, he was with Fennec Shand, and this could be one other local leader whom Boba has summoned to the palace. They meet with the captains who worked under Jabba the Hutt, a big table with some Trandoshans, that was the race of Bosk, and some Klatooinians. They have the, Now, Klatooinians were seen all over Jabba's court in Return of the Jedi. Klatoonian raiders were actually the ones that were guarding Grogu in the very first episode of the series. We never really know how Grogu ended up in their hands. Maybe it could have been some deal that was orchestrated by Jabba. We also see a shot of some Tusken raiders. Now, when we saw Boba Fett in that season 2 premiere, it was never really clear, but it looked like he might have been living among the Tusken raiders of Tatooine, or at least has some relationship with them, because he was carrying a gaffy stick and it looked like a Tusken rifle. Maybe part of his arrangement is to broker some kind of peace with some of the tribes of Tusken Raiders. There's a great shot of some Twi'lek woman. Now, Jabba and Fennec Shand are also flanked by some Gamorrean guards. Those are the pig-nosed fellas who guarded Jabba's palace. Now, there's one shot of Boba's helmet rolling on the ground and a bunch of coins falling out. These are Rebel Alliance credits. You can tell from the Rebel Alliance insignia. Remember in episode 1 of the series, there's that whole debate over whether Imperial credits have any value after the Rebel victory over the Empire. But in this series, Imperial units are still in control in different areas. They're still a major threat. This shot of the helmet rolling on the ground does evoke the shot from Attack of the Clones when Mace Windu beheaded Jango Fett and Boba Fett picked up the helmet. Maybe seeing the helmet roll on the ground might trigger Boba into that flashback. I saw my father die. Daddy, is your helmet in there? Oh my god, Daddy! Fennec and Boba get surrounded by all these red shields. Looks like the same kind of shielding tech that we saw in the Naboo Palace that separated Obi-Wan from the fight with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon. And then this awesome stunt where Boba's able to overwhelm one of these guards, steal his staff, and just bring it down with his awesome face. I love how Morrison's just having a blast going full out with this. When we saw him in that season 2 episode 6 episode, he was using similar warrior moves and these warrior expressions. It seemed like he was pulling from some of that Maori tradition. And I love this good cop, bad cop relationship that Fennec and Boba appear to have. Fennec kind of threatening to drop them into the pit, where Boba is the good cop, saying, no, please speak freely. But he's speaking softly while carrying a big stick. It's just an interesting management style that's still just as deadly, just as threatening, but on the surface, at least giving them an option to play nicely. Now, there are going to be 8 episodes this season, and we know the episode titles are going to be The Champion, The Assassin, The Syndicate, The Battleground, The Homeworld, The Warlord, The Showdown, The Hunter. Now, one question is whether or not Boba Fett's going to help Bo-Katan liberate Mandalore. He does not seem interested in that because technically his home world was Kamino, and we just learned from Star Wars The Bad Batch that Boba Fett had a sister named Omega. Boba was the Alpha clone of Jango Fett. She is the Omega clone. She's the same age. I'm guessing we're gonna see her as an adult character in this show, who also comes from Boba Fett's homeworld. Also in Bad Batch, we saw a baby Rancor named Muchi. We thought this could have been the same one from Return of the Jedi because Bib Fortuna actually shows up in Bad Batch to pick up this Rancor, but the Rancor in Return of the Jedi was named Patissa. Who knows, maybe Muchi and Patissa were related, but Muchi might have now grown up into an adult on this show, and these characters might have to track it down. I'm just really digging the vibe from this. Like so much in Star Wars, it's about the war. It's about reclaiming thrones. It's about the revolution. Rarely do we get to see the difficulty of rule. Now, yes, that is something that George Lucas tried to explore with the prequels, right? Trying to maintain power, the difficulty of factionalism and democratic rule. But this series is taking away the broad scale of that and just making it a simple matter of one political faction, and just making it a simple matter of one crime organization, and then hopefully we get time to learn the relationships between these individuals. So it's less about exposition and more just about relationships. That's what made The Sopranos so great. And The Mandalorian's been so good, it looks like it's pretty much the same team working on this show. Robert Rodriguez is directing a lot of the episodes, but Jon Favreau's coming back to direct one of them. Dave Filoni's directing one of them. Bryce Dallas Howard is directing one of them. So it's gonna just feel like an extension of The Mandalorian, which I think we're all on board with. But let me know your thoughts on this trailer, and you can support New Rockstars by checking out our merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe for breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching. This is The Way.